Hello and welcome to another episode by Northwoods Exploration. As always, my name is Jeremy, and in this episode we are going to talk about the Spyderco Tenacious, a knife many consider to be the gateway knife to the world of knife ownership. Let's get to it, guys. Alright guys, as I said in the intro, today we are going to talk about the Spyderco Tenacious. And you actually see two Spyderco Tenacious knives up here. And the reason for this is quite simple. Well, I own two of them. Why do I own two of them? Well, we'll get to that story soon enough. When it comes to the Spyderco Tenacious, there are many people that consider this knife to be, if you will, the gateway knife to many other knives that are out there. And for me, that was surely the case. But before we actually get into talking about why this knife is considered to be the gateway knife of the knife world, let's talk about some of the specs on this knife. So, just for starters, when you look at this knife, its overall length is 7.76 inches with an actual blade length of 3.39 inches. The blade material, not all that great. It's 8CR13 MOV. That's not too bad. It's very easy to sharpen, but doesn't really hold an edge all that well. The handle length comes down to 4.45 inches, and one thing about the handle, both of these have G2 handles on them, so that's always really cool. You don't find that in knives that are generally in this, $40 to $60 price point, depending on where you pick this knife up. This is a liner lock, and this is a knife that is made in China. Now, as you can see with both of these knives, one does look a little more worn than the other. The reason for that is because this one was dropped in a snowbank the first year I had the knife, and then I went and replaced it with this one, and I've just kept both over the years. Now, as we look at these knives, let's talk about for a second what I like and what I don't like. Yeah, we're going to get into how this knife is considered the gateway knife, and I do agree with that sentiment, but we need to understand a little bit more about the knife. So, what are some things I like? What are some things that I dislike about the knife? Well, first of all, the number one thing I can say that I like are these G10 scales. The G10 scales. These provide for a very good grip on the knife. They're very comfortable. We'll get into that in just a moment. But often you don't get G10 scales on a knife that is in the, 40. I don't think you're going to find this knife for $40 anymore. Not even on a site like Blade HQ. They have this knife about $50 to $60, depending on which model you get. But to get G10 scales in a knife that is in that $50 to $60 range, I think that's really cool. Another thing I like, and I mentioned this just a moment ago, was the ergonomics. I think this is an extremely ergonomic knife. Very, very easy to grip. Feels good in the hand. I do wish it was a little bit longer, but that's kind of the reason why, I have the Paramilitary 2. And by the way, when you look at the Para 2, this does give you a pretty good idea on overall length. So if you lay these knives side by side like this, you can see that they're really about the same length. The Paramilitary 2 has a blade length of 3.44 inches, and the Spyderco Tenacious has a length of 3.39 inches. So not too bad. You look at, for example, the Spyderco Endura, and obviously that's a lot longer with a 3.75 inch blade. You even get in there with the Ontario Wrap Model 1. Same thing, a little bit longer grip as well as blade, but I like the ergonomics of this knife, which that's something I like about Spydercos in general. And then I think the third thing is overall durability. Like I said, this was the first Spyderco that I owned, and I dropped this Tenacious in a snowbank. It actually fell off of my car, got dropped in a snowbank. When your knife drops in a snowbank in the middle of a northern Wisconsin winter, you're probably not getting this knife back until spring, which is what happened. I actually found it in the snowbank when spring got here, but I went out and bought this one to replace it. That's how much I like this knife. These knives, where they're not the best quality in the world, like they don't really hold a candle to my Spyderco Paramilitary 2, but I would say that these are really good quality knives. They're very durable, is what I mean by that. Are they going to be as, high quality as like my PM2, or even something like a, like a Benchmade Bug Out or something of that nature? No. But I think that these are good for what they are. And there are really only two dislikes that I have about these two knives. The number one thing I dislike is the steel that is used. They used 8CR13 MOV on these, which isn't horrible, but it's a Chinese steel. And these are Chinese-made knives, but my biggest issue with 8CR13 MOV is that it does not hold an edge very well. Yes, it's very easy to sharpen. Yes, you're going to be able to get a very sharp edge on it. However, what you're going to run into is you're going to be sharpening this knife. If you use this knife every day, like if you're a blue-collar guy out there cutting up cardboard, you're using this knife in the woods out bushcrafting or something of that nature, you're going to have to carry a sharpener with you because this blade is not going to hold an edge. You can get it super sharp, but it will lose its edge very quickly. And the second thing that I can say I dislike comes down to quality control. You say, well, Jeremy, I thought you said it was really good quality. Well, I think it's good quality for the price. And allow me to show you what I mean. And I'm going to try and get this on the camera. I'm going to close this knife. And if you can notice, I'll get my lighting to work here. I'm actually going to grab my flashlight because I really want you guys to be able to see this. Because I think this is something that's pretty important to understanding this issue that I have with the Spyderco Tenacious. Here we go. Found my knife. Or, goodness, my flashlight. So, if you look at this closely, I'm trying to angle it so you can actually see it. You see how that sits in there? There we go. That might be better. It's actually brushing up against this side of the liner. Ironically enough, same thing is happening with the newer one as well. Here, let's see if I can get it again here. There we go. Yeah. So, sorry for the lighting issues there, but same thing has happened with both of these two knives. Both of them have had the blade where it's not centered, and I consider that to be a quality control issue. Even if I pay $50 or $60 for a knife, I want the knife to have a blade that is centered. I want it to hold up, and sure, it's going to hold up. Like, this knife is not going to break apart on you. I think it's good enough quality that that's not going to happen. My concern with quality control, though, is when I've had the knife for 6 months to a year, I don't want the blade to be uncentered. And yes, I've gone through everything trying to recenter it. I've contacted Spyderco. They sent me some parts to replace on it. And then they said, if this doesn't work, send it in to us. I have not sent these in yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to. But I don't know, that might make a pretty good video, before and after, with, sending them off to Spyderco, they come back, and I may do that, actually. I may do that. I think that'd make a pretty cool video to share with you guys. But, yeah, the things I love about this knife, I love the G10 scales. It's very ergonomically friendly. I think it's a durable knife. It's not going to break on you. And the two things I have against, and these are really the only two things, first of all, the steel is 8CR13 MOV. Yep, you can get it very sharp, but it's not going to hold an edge very well. That doesn't really help me out in the woods. And then also quality control. I think that since you're getting a lower end knife, I don't know if any of you other guys have had this trouble with the Spyderco Tenacious, but this is something that I noticed on both of them. And I bought these probably about 3 months apart. This one stayed in a snowbank for 9 months, and this one was bought about 6 months before I found the other one in the bank. So anyway, yeah, the only issues I have is the blade steel, and the quality control, I think, is not all that good out of their Chinese factories. Now, to get to the meat of the matter in this video, why is the Tenacious often referred to as the gateway knife? Well, I think there are three reasons. First of all, it comes down to price point. I picked up this knife for around $40 about 3 to 4 years ago on Blade HQ right now. And yep, I'll put a link in the description below. This knife is going to run you about 50 to 60 bucks. Not too bad for what you get from Spyderco. Is it their best? No. It frankly does not hold a candle to my Paramilitary 2. It just simply does not. And maybe I'll do a video here in the coming weeks on the comparisons between the two. But it doesn't hold a candle to my PM2. But for what you're getting at that price point, it is a price point that people can afford. You know, before I bought my Spyderco Tenacious, I had just been using like cheap $10 to $20 knives. And then I bought my first Spyderco Tenacious, saw the Tenacious being talked about on the channel Best Damn EDC with Taylor Martin. Absolutely love the stuff that dude puts out. Totally awesome. I saw him talking about the Tenacious. I went to Walmart, picked one up. So I look at this knife as being in a really good price point. You know, you're not having to spend $100, but I think for what you get, it's pretty good. You know, is it the Elementum where you're getting, you know, the D2 steel? No, but I actually like the ergonomics of this better than the Elementum. And I think it fits in my hand better than the Elementum. It gives me a pretty good grip, pretty ergonomically friendly grip on the knife, so I don't have to worry about slipping out of my hand. And, you know, at that price point, you know, I think what you get is very good value. This leads me to the second reason I think this is the gateway knife, if you will, and that is brand recognition. When it comes to knife brands, Spyderco is up there near the top. I mean, yeah, you have your, you know, your Benchmades, you have your Cold Steels, etc., so on and so forth. There are tons and tons and tons of different brands, but Spyderco, you get that brand recognition, you get their warranty that is backing this knife, and I think, you know, I know at least when I first started getting into knives, I didn't want to buy a knife, spend more than 20 or 30 bucks on a knife that I had no knowledge of the brand or their quality or who they were or what their other products were. And when I was first getting into knives, everyone was talking about, hey man, Spyderco's good, Spyderco's great. Just start with the Tenacious and go from there, man. Go from there. It won't break the bank. I promise you that you'll love it. And like I said, before I bought the Spyderco Tenacious, I didn't really think that having a higher end knife was a big deal. You can just get a cheap gas station knife for 20 bucks, who cares? And then I bought this knife and it's like, okay, I get it now. I understand why people like good quality knives, and where this doesn't hold a candle to things that are going to cost you 100, 150, 200 or more. This is an excellent knife. And this leads me to the third reason that the Spyderco Tenacious is the perfect gateway knife. Not only is it at a good price point, not only does it have brand recognition, but it gives you just enough of a sample of all the goods that are to come in Spyderco's line that they hook you. From the G10 handles to the reversible pocket clip to even with the blade, the size and the shape of the blade. It has all of the elements maybe not the full realization of those elements, but the Spyderco Tenacious has all of the basic elements of a really awesome Spyderco knife. You have the thumb hole opener, you have the reversible pocket grip, you have the G10 handles. Is it the best made knife? Is it the best quality parts? No. But once you have used this knife and held this knife, man, you want to see what else Spyderco's got to give. You want to see what else is in the line. And that's how it was for me. I mean, I went from the Spyderco Tenacious to the Endura 4 because I wanted a longer blade. You know, my dive knife is a Spyderco Pacific Salt 2. I recently purchased, as you guys saw, I recently purchased the Paramilitary 2. I absolutely love this knife. It is the perfected version, if you will, of the Tenacious. So in the end, I think it's really easy to see why the Spyderco Tenacious is the gateway knife of the knife world, or at least when it comes to the knives that are in Spyderco's line, you have it at a great price point. It's not going to break the bank. If you don't like it, you're not going to have buyer's remorse. You know, if you can't afford a $50 knife, I think most people could probably save up for one if they couldn't afford one straight out. Also, brand recognition. You're not buying some no-name brand saying, hey, look at us, we're great. No, Spyderco has a history of making great quality knives. And then also, it gives you just a taste, just a sample of the goods that are to come in Spyderco's line. It hooks you in. And like I said, that's what it did with me. So anyway, guys, I'm going to bring this video to a close. If you liked the video, give it a like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. I've got so much content that's going to be coming on the channel here in the coming days, weeks, and months. You don't want to miss an upload from me. Got some really good stuff coming down the pipe. As I said in my previous video, got more diving videos. I've got more bushcrafting videos coming. You got to think about it this way. As we're leaving summer, going into fall, and then winter, all those bushcrafting videos are going to come out. Probably the next video I'm going to release is going to be one that I shot this past winter, driving through a blizzard in northern Wisconsin on the lakefront. So anyway, guys, as I said, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, help us grow this channel. I appreciate you watching, and as always, guys, come join the adventure. I will catch you guys in the next episode.